Hello, Reverend Melissa Kennedy here. I'm just popping on. I just felt inspired to come on tonight and just share some spiritual truths, some spiritual stories, hopefully to help you along with your spiritual journey because it is a journey. Um, Waking up can happen all at once, it would seem, but in reality, people wake up a lot quickly, maybe all at once. But the truth is, there are many, many layers to spiritually awakening or to becoming more in touch with your higher state of consciousness, higher power, God, angels, universe, whatever word resonates for you. Please do use that. I like to use the word God. It resonates with me. And to me, that signifies the creator of it all. Okay. So if you use universe, then that's the word you plug in. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm not here giving a sermon or anything like that. I'm non-denominational. I am very spiritual, but I do believe in that higher power. Um, Whether you see him as a man in a long white robe, like Jesus, or God with a long white beard, it's okay. However you see, feel, and sense higher power is how your truth filter works, right? We're all different, and that's the beauty about life and being a human being, that none of us are exactly the same. There's no one that is exactly like me, and there's no one that is exactly like you. You might find people along your journey that are similar, but thank goodness, even then, that person that's very similar to you will have enough of a difference. Um, but really, why I wanted to make this podcast is I wanted to start speaking about discernment. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to share, the definition of discernment. So I'm just going to read it to you, so I know that we're on the right page, because sometimes language in the words that people use can trip other people up. Okay, so I'm going to be very literal with what discernment means. Discernment means in the black and white, in the definition form. So, discernment is the ability to perceive, understand, and judge things clearly, particularly when distinguishing between truth and error, right and wrong, and subtle differences. Okay, and that is very important because um, as human beings, we are always being called to use our better judgment, our discernment. And it really, really helps when we are opening up spiritually. So for me, um, when I first started to open up, really, I've been awake my whole life, okay, but there are layers to this. So I knew there was something different about me at a very early age when I figured out I could talk to animals, okay? And then the journey just kind of continued on. You know, my generation, there wasn't a lot of people there to guide us. So we just kind of knew there was something different about us, but we kind of kept it under wraps because people didn't understand. And I've shared stories about that in previous podcasts on my YouTube channel. So if you'd like to scroll through my videos to get to know me better, go ahead and at your leisure. I have lots and lots of videos posted with a lot of stories and, things that I have learned, because ultimately I am a spiritual teacher. But the main thing I want people to do is remember who they are. So I'm here to activate, to help you remember who you are. So to get back to discernment, um, that's always been an easy one for me. Okay. There's fear, but then there's discernment. So a lot of times when we're opening up spiritually, we're afraid of letting go of some of the past programming that we've had, whether it's religion, whether it's indoctrination of any kind from, schools, family, um, established organizations, whatever it might be. We have to kind of shed those layers and step into our power, who we are as a human being, not what has been impressed upon us as what the reality is. We have to discern and see what resonates within our spirit. So I have found through my spiritual journey and many spiritual teachers that I've had along the way that there are things that people will say that don't fully resonate with me. And I'm here to tell you that if something doesn't resonate, there's a reason for that. And God, angels, universe, they're drawing you out, but they're drawing you in, okay? They want you to be paying attention. They want you to use your mind, body, spirit as your filter. So for me, I have all of the clairs, okay? So I always say I have the cornucopia of clairs. So this can be very, very confusing too if you are like me and you have all of the clairs and you're opening up spiritually and you're feeling your way around to see where you fit in, what your specialty is, what you're gonna learn to help others, right? If you're taking this to the next level. So um, for me, it's like a barometer. Okay, so I can walk into a room and read it. And I was doing this from the get-go, ever since I was just knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say, right? An old expression, very, very young. I would walk into a room and I would feel it all. I would know about people. I would know certain things about them and I would see them and just observe them and say, oh, okay, that's how this person is and that's how this person is. And I was okay with that. I've always been very accepting. So I didn't have discernment where it was judgmental. Some people do have a lot of judgment. But discernment does call for our personal judgment, okay? But I'm talking about the judgment where you're judging a person where you're looking at them and thinking, oh my gosh, like they have no common sense, or here they go again, or whatever the case may be. I have that too, but I'm not in that judgment. I always am on neutral ground. I'm always in that place of trying to understand someone in their process and giving them grace, okay? Even though I probably don't get that in return, or I didn't get that a lot in return in the early days, when I was younger. But, you know, even now, some people don't give it, and that's fine. I'm still going to be me. So I'll give you an example about like some of my first experiences going and having a psychic reading. So my first ever psychic reading was when I was a young teenage girl. And I was at a state fair and I was with a friend and we went in there and we both had our palms read and, our fortune told, right? So in that, um, there were things that didn't sit well with me, okay? But I didn't discount it as it couldn't be true, but at that time, it didn't resonate with me, and there were some things about it that weren't of that it wasn't good things, it wasn't good news, especially for the person that I was with. And so as the years went by, pretty much everything that that woman told me came to pass. Um, so right down to how many children I had and where I would live and what I would do and all of this. Okay. And for the other person I was with, some of those things really did come true. And that was a difficult part because this person that I was with actually ended up dying in a car accident at a young age, like probably 21, okay? And she didn't come right out and say that, but she did see the accident, okay? And that, oh, that was so scary to me. Um, so as a spiritual guide and a spiritual mentor, I'm very, very discerning about what I say to people. I have to be very careful because I always say, I'm not working for myself, and I'm working for God. Okay, so the messages that come through me, if I'm not following my guidance, I'm going to pay for that. Okay, in one way or another, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to know it, I'm going to get a lesson. So I always have to be operating in my truth. Okay, and in that truth, so that when I open up, um, I know that I am connecting in with God, angels, higher light, universe. That is it. Nothing else resides or is welcome in my space. And if something slips through that is not of any of those things I just mentioned, guess what? I will see it, feel it, sense it, and clear it and banish it. That's what I will do. So, that's my discernment. So you have to be very, very discerning. There were classes that would come up, and I have had a friend on my podcast many times. We've done several podcasts together on different topics, and we would, we'd look at classes, and there was one in particular that did not resonate with me because I was watching one of these particular teachers that was teaching the class, and I would see things around this teacher that were troubling to my clairvoyance, okay? And I was getting a red flag. No, that is not the class. That is not the teacher right now. And I did tell my friend that because I have to be honest with what I see, sense, and feel, okay? And in that case, it was a good friend. She knows I'm going to tell her the truth, and I still gave her the option. Look, if it resonates with you and it feels good within your spirit, then you go ahead and you take that class. But she inevitably did not take the class, and she felt okay about it afterwards, but she was a little bit put out by me telling her that, and a little bit put out because she didn't take it because of what I said. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. We ended up taking a different class through that particular teacher, and I had more awareness come in, okay? There was actually two teachers for this particular set of classes that we ended up taking together, which were great. Met some great people, learned a lot, but there are some things that I saw that I know for me would not be at that time was not of the highest light. Okay. I was still deciphering, I was still discerning, and I never just leap in. And I would advise you to never just leap in. And if you do, that's okay. But if you get into a situation where you're taking a class or you're in a group of people and something feels off within your body, your mind, your spirit, then you know that you probably don't belong there. You need to place more protection around you, okay? And I am a big believer in psychic protection and things like that. And you can ask God, angels, universe to create the ideal sacred space around you and to create a sphere of light, a bubble of protection around you that protects your energy. Because if you're clairsentient like I am, and I feel people's energy, I feel what's going on in their body, I really do have to set up some kind of protection for myself because I am a cosmic psychic sponge. Like I'll just soak it all in, and I'll be wondering, well, I would be wondering, not so much now because I just tune right in and I know what to do, but back when I first started all of this, I didn't know what to do. And so I would go into fear thinking I was doing something wrong, but really I was just opened up spiritually, okay? And then I had to learn some techniques and some things to do. So I just want you to know that discernment is huge. You trust it, you know it, and never doubt it. All right. And if you have to leave a situation, even if you spent money for it, if you're there and it doesn't sit right with your spirit, then you don't have to stay. You don't have to take that class. Okay. Most of the time, people are working with the highest light, but people can be fooled. Like entities can be tricky energy, other beings, and they do exist, whether you want to believe it or not. And there are other spiritual teachers that do not acknowledge that everything isn't a rainbow, a kitten, or a unicorn in this reality. Okay, but I'm here to tell you that not everything is a rainbow, a kitten, and a unicorn. And how do I know that? Once again, because I see these things with my clairvoyance, with my clear sight. So if there's something around and I've opened up and you've come to me for guidance, I'm going to see it. And we start talking about it, you start talking about an experience, boom, I'm going to see it, okay? Because you've come to me to help you to move through this, to clear it, and to move through any fear or anything else that you might be experiencing. So, and it is a very difficult process to eliminate fear because we are programmed to be in that mode of fear, all right? And that keeps us stuck in certain spaces and places that no longer serve our highest and best good, our inner light, our inner growth, our inner journey, right? Our spiritual path. So I'm really huge on following your inner compass. So again, I watch podcasts. I never go looking for anything. Everything's random. I just open up and say, God, angels, universe, what's meant to me, bring it to me in an organic way. I'm not going to go looking for it. I just don't. And I always get exactly what I need at exactly the right time. That's my intention. That's how I do it. A friend will send something, or I'll just log on to YouTube and something will show up, and there's a message there for me. It may only be 5 minutes of an hour-long podcast, or maybe it's the entire thing, but I'm to process that lesson, whatever it is. So, um, to share more about like seeking psychic readings or spiritual people, it didn't resonate with me when I was younger, even though from an early age I had glimpses and visions of myself on another timeline, or so sorry. I thought that was off. Or a past life. Okay, I would see myself. So, as a um what you would call a gypsy, like a traveler, um someone that was a seer that actually read for people and traveled in like what you would see like a little caravan, but this was back like in like Renaissance times, okay? That was this era I was seeing myself in. And there's an actual picture that I found that looked just like me. It's like that typical rendition of that drawing of this gypsy girl, this fortune teller, this psychic reader that traveled around. And I was very respected. Um, I wasn't one of those people that was just trying to scam people, just like now. I'm not one of those people that tries to scam anyone. I'm always in my truth, okay? And it's my truth, and it may not be your truth, but I am operating from a place of truth. So that's what I saw, but it didn't even resonate with me, even though that's what I knew that I was with every fiber of my being. I knew that I was that in another experience, or, this is all supposedly happening all at once. There's no way of us ever knowing, but we look at it as past life in this physical reality, right? We just say past life. In a past life, I was this. But for all we know, it could all be happening right now, and I'm just tapping into those aspects of me from my higher self that still do exist on another timeline. Okay, so Dolores Cannon covered a lot of these concepts, and one of her books was called The Convoluted Universe. If you're interested in reading something, maybe look up some of Dolores Cannon's books. She talks a lot about past lives, and hypnotherapy and things of that nature. So, um, so as far as bringing it into the future, in discernment. I had a reading probably back in 2017, before COVID and all of that, maybe 2018. And the woman that I went to it was only my second psychic reading ever in my whole entire life, okay? And how she saw me, come to find out, was exactly like what I really was. She said, I wish I could paint this. So how she saw me was a Native American woman, um, riding a gorgeous horse through the plains. Like, I live in Oklahoma now, so through the plains, like it looked like that. And it was a dark colored horse, and I had absolutely nothing on this horse. It was bareback. I had no halter, no bridle, nothing to control the horse. I was just riding the horse out in the wild, my hair flowing and flying in the wind, and that's how she saw me. And I was in that lifetime that she picked up on, or timeline, um, an animal communicator, someone that spoke to all animals, just like I do now. So I didn't remember everything, consciously, but somewhere within me, within my genetics, my DNA, my cellular memory, I brought this knowingness in with me. Took a while for it to all develop and kind of click together to be where I am now. But all of the life experiences I had up until now made me a much more empathetic and a much more discerning and a much more understanding reader of things. Okay. So I never just jump into things, and I only share what I see. I can't be scripted. So if you ever want to read with me or do anything spiritually with me, I will always bring you the truth. And I'll always say, use your own discernment, okay? Because I am not here to imprint you, your soul, your soul blueprint. I am here to help you to open up and to bring new concepts and to plant some seeds, okay? So how do we know that we've planted good seeds? Because when they grow, everything that comes from them is beautiful. It feels good. All right. That's how we know that we're doing the right thing because we are. I know that for me, um, one of the first names that came to me for a guide was Huwata, and that means planter of seeds. That was the guide that was working with me that first came through with that first reading I had. And then for a second reading, maybe a year and a half later, since I knew this was my path, this was my mission, that I was going to do this professionally, I went to another reader. And some of the things that she said to me, I was like, oh, no, that's not part of my story. I'm not taking that. I'm parking that there. That's not what my journey is going to be about. Okay. And that was my choice. That was my discernment at the time. I wasn't ready for that message. Okay. And it was about, um, other worldly beings, okay, what we would call back in the day ETs, they call them UAP, whatever they call them now, I don't know, but we'll just blanket term it and say ETs, extraterrestrials, okay, not of this physical realm in our awareness as of the now, okay. So I totally said when I hung up the phone, I even said it to her, oh no, that, like I'm outspoken. I'll say, nope, I'm sorry, but that doesn't resonate with me right now. And she laughed. She was okay with it. She goes, it's okay, but I'm gonna have to share what I see. And I appreciate her for that, okay? Because a lot of what she said about that really ended up coming to fruition for me. And again, you can go through past podcasts on my YouTube channel here, and you will be able to see I've done one in particular, and other people have had me on their podcast where I speak about my experience with otherworldly beings or ETs, okay? And was it all positive? No, it wasn't. Sorry to say. Again, it's not just rainbows, kittens, and unicorns when you're waking up. Some things can shake you and break you. And that's what happened. I literally, everything that I knew, my reality was shattered. And luckily, God had put the people into my life, angels, universe, that were meant to be there to help me through this very, very um, frightening, horrifying, for me, traumatic, soul shattering experience I went through. It literally took me months to get back to feeling like a normal human being again. It shattered me so much. It happened to me on December 24th, 2019. Okay. And it was Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2019. I'll never forget it. And I did have an abduction experience. And then I was back in my room. The whole night had gone by, and it was morning, and it was Christmas Day. And I had to go through Christmas Day like everything was okay in my world, but it wasn't. Whew, that was rough, let me tell you. But here I am, okay, and I sit before you. And thank you, God, angels, universe, I made it through. So I am no stranger to the things that aren't rainbows, kittens, and unicorns. So, with that being said, I'm just going to sense in and see what else comes through. I like to keep these kind of short, but I just wanted to share some of what you should be practicing in your spiritual life, in your spiritual journey. Oh, they reminded me. This is what else I wanted to share. So while I'm watching these, I'm clairaudient. I'm not crazy, by the way. I can hear spiritually. I've been able to hear spiritually my whole life. I've been in contact with home headquarters from when I was a little girl. Okay, that's just how it works for me. Might as well call it home headquarters because we all go back there one day. Okay, I'm in touch with that. I'm in tune with that. So I'm watching these podcasts, and I'm seeing people um, with my clairvoyance, with what they look like, or some kind of impression or a different image comes over them, and I'm seeing who's talking through them, per se. Like if it's a spiritual person, I will see who's talking through them. And some of it, like, oof, it's creepy, okay? Like some of these faces that I see are creepy, but they're not evil. It's just not what we're used to because if we went somewhere out in the cosmos and showed up, to the land of the Cyclopses, we'd be frightening because we have two eyes and we look like a monster, right? So like weird looking beings, okay? Some with big heads, some with elongated, like egg shaped faces, big almond shaped eyes, no hair, just things like that, okay? Just seeing different beings overlaying on these people, okay? Coming over their face. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And I'd be listening to the message and I would be using my discernment. Is this person connected to the higher light? And if I heard no, click, off it would go. And off with that. And I would clear my space, clear my energy, send all that energy back to them, call my energy back to me. Okay. That's how I deal with it. Um, but during readings, it can get pretty interesting and the energy can get wild, okay? And I'm going to feel it. So whatever the person's going through, I'm going to feel it before we even start the reading because when you read with me, I'm already tapping into your energy and getting you messages before we even connect. All right? That's how I work. And I do this so that you know that I'm not blowing smoke anywhere it shouldn't be blown, okay? I'm going to keep it above board here. But you know what I mean. I'm not going to blow that smoke up the backside. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to sense into your energy. I'm going to give you a message from your higher power, from your guides, from your angels to let you know that I already know you before we connect. Okay. So they wanted me to share that. But so again, it's all about using your discernment. And I wanted to share one more thing because if you've been watching my videos, thank you for watching. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel so my messages get out there. I know there's more people that need to find these messages, okay? There's people that are just waking up and they're confused, but I'm not confused. I'm here to guide. I'm here to help you remember who you were deprogrammed to know and remember, okay? So please subscribe, like, share, maybe hit the notification bell because I'm going to be making more content. I do make a Sunday video every Sunday. God willing, if I feel well, I always make a Sunday video for the upcoming week. So let me just share this. I just want to share one more thing. Okay, so today, this podcast today is brought to you by the number 444. So I want you to pay attention to signs. I'm really big about signs. I call them little breadcrumbs on our trail in our spiritual journey. So I always look up angel numbers, and when you get a number for the day, just go and do a internet search, your whatever browser you prefer. Everybody just says Google. It's like a blanket term, but if you use a different one, I use DuckDuckGo a lot. So just go into that and type in angel number. Today it was 444. So 444 is a sign of support and stability in spiritual alignment, indicating that you are on the right path in life. It encourages you to build strong foundations in love, career, and personal growth while trusting in your intuition and guidance of the angels. So I asked Angels, Guides, Universe to bring me the number for this podcast, and we got 444. Okay, so pay attention to the signs that come to you and the little breadcrumbs, I call them, along your path, along your journey, okay? And always sense in, use your discernment. If it doesn't feel right, if it feels icky, there's a reason for it. I've been on so many Zoom calls. I was on a Zoom call once with over 100 spiritual people, like in a like kind of like a class in a way, but people were sharing like some trauma that they have been through that brought about their awakening. And trauma will bring on an awakening, but that'll be for another podcast. And I'll tell you about my trauma and how that really put me on my path in 2016. Okay. Like I said earlier, I've been awake my whole life, but things had to happen for me to just be woken up. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I really have to learn all of this stuff. I can no longer deny all of who I am. This is who I am. I'm going to be my most authentic self. And in order to do this, I have to study. I have to take classes. I have to learn. I have to work with people. I've been doing all of that since 2016. Okay. Got my degree in metaphysics. So I'm a practitioner of metaphysical science, and I work in the spiritual realms with this all the time with people. So I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to helping people along their spiritual path. And I'm not saying that from ego. I'm just saying that I'm not just sitting here speaking from a place of not knowing what I'm talking about. Like I know a lot spiritually. It kind of Forrest Gump joke. I may not be a smart woman, but I know about spirituality, right? I'm smart. You know, we're all smart, but I just wanted to make a joke because um, Forrest Gump movie, everybody can relate to that. Unfortunately, now with that, there's some negative connotations with that person in that movie, but again, that's a whole other story. But also, this isn't going to be as short as I want because they're telling me I needed to get a card too. So I am working once again with Amanda Ellis's deck, the Christ Consciousness deck, and I absolutely love Jesus. Love Jesus. What can I say? He's awesome, right? So, um, I had some come out. We only need one. So, anyway, let's just get our card and then I'm going to end this. So, we talked about discernment. We talk about using your body, your mind, your spirit as your filter. So we have abundance coming in. So, our spiritual awakening and our spiritual journey opens us up for more abundance in our life, more people, more experiences. I don't know why it blurs. It does, though. Um, So this is enjoy life fully is the message on this card. And we need to enjoy the process too, because as I was going through my learning, like, oh my gosh, like I just had to know everything. Like there weren't enough of classes that I could take. There wasn't enough that I could absorb. There weren't enough of psychic development classes for me to sit in. I just had to just do them all, you know, and Reiki, mediumship, channeling, like it just, once you get on the path, you're going to be called in a lot of different areas, but you will find where you fit, what resonates for you, okay? So again, use your discernment, go with what you know, what you already know, and what you feel, and then open up and then look for people that you resonate with to help you along your journey because you're going to need them. You really are. You don't want to be going through this spiritual growth and learning journey on your own. You really don't. Thank gosh, like I had my best friend. We were going through it all at the same time. And I could message her any time of the day or night, and she knew she could do the same for me. Um, Went through like going with the oracle cards, trusting that there's nothing dark about that. You know, again, calling in the highest light. If you are using anything to get messages to help others in a positive way, it doesn't matter if you're looking out in the trees or if you look into water or you scry at the bottom of a teacup, whatever it is. If you prefer oracle cards or tarot cards, there is nothing evil about it unless you are opened up to evil and you want to bring that in, okay? So you have to really be intentional on what it is that you are opening up and working with. And to me, it's only God, angels, highest source of light. Nothing else is welcome in my world, in my sphere, um, to work with me. As I said earlier, yes, I will see things that aren't of that. But again, that's for another podcast, and I will talk about that in my next podcast about your discernment, about what is around us spiritually. Okay, that's a whole other topic. So I'm being asked to do some clearing because in the future, somebody's going to watch this podcast that's having a headache. Okay, and I'm being asked to clear this now because energy is energy. And I'm just going to give that clearing to whoever this is that's watching me in the future. And I'm just asking for the clearing and healing of this headache. And if this is stress, we ask that this be relieved and eliminated from this person's body, mind, spirit. Thank you, God. Thank you, angels. Thank you. Thank you. It's gone. So I know that whoever you are, it's going to be taken care of. I don't want you to have that 2x4 driven up above your eye. Okay. So, yeah, that's one of the many services I offer here. So, with that being said, I would like to thank you for watching this podcast, for spending your time with me. I really appreciate you. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I would be happy to answer them for you. Um, and I also host a monthly spiritual hour of healing and chat. Usually goes over an hour, but we try to keep it to an hour. Just depends on where God, angels, universe bring me. It's different every time. It's channeled in. I never script anything. I'm going with the flow of the energy on the planet right now because things are changing so rapidly. And in order to stay with the times and with the changes, we have to be in the now. So, until next time,